This week, I'm asking if brand is more important than ever for your SEO strategies, and I'm joined by Mordy Oberstein.
I don't mean this as a hot take. I feel the web is fundamentally broken, and I'm not sure how it's going to get fixed. And I'm not sure if it will ever get fixed. But one of them is that there's so much noise. Everyone's posting, everyone's creating content, and blah, 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 which one creates just clutter and you can't resonate, which, by the way, brings brand into focus. Thank you very much. And also brings up skepticism. I'm not sure this, and I'm not sure that. And the web overall, people are not stupid. I want to say something that I think is a profound point. Just because you can't verbalize it in clear, distinct, definable terminology does not mean you're not aware of it.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Search With Candour. I am your host, Jack Chambers-Ward, and this is the podcast where I interview the best and brightest across the digital marketing and SEO industry. As you probably guessed by now, I'm joined by Mordy Oberstein this week, and we're talking all about branded search and why it's probably going to be very, very important for you, your clients, and your brands coming up over the next few years. We get into the discussions, of course, of AI and LLMs and all that kind of stuff, and what a lot of brands get wrong when it comes to understanding their own SERPs, understanding how they are perceived by their audience from an organic search perspective, and how that relates to the company and their marketing as a whole. It's a big conversation. Mordy and I go in a lot of different directions. If you've ever heard Mordy talk before, you know he can talk and you know I can talk, and we end up covering everything from pro wrestling to baseball to Nike to the NFL and everything in between. And I think it's a really interesting conversation about the state of brands in 2025, essentially, and how much that has evolved over the last 5 years and where we think it's going in the next 5 years as well. Of course, I'll get to my conversation in a moment, but before I get to that, if you could do me a huge favor, if you could like this video, if you could subscribe to us on YouTube, and of course, give us a 5-star review on Spotify. If you're enjoying the show, I would hugely, hugely appreciate that. You can, of course, review us on Apple Podcasts as well if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. I would appreciate any feedback, any comments and stuff like that. You can now leave comments also on Spotify, by the way, as well as on the YouTube video. So please do go and leave us likes, reviews, comments, all that kind of stuff. A bit of engagement always helps us get seen by more people. So if you're enjoying the show, I'd hugely appreciate that support. Anyway, coming up next, it's a little word from our sponsor, and then I'll get into my chat with Mordy Oberstein.
If you're not already using or you don't know what AlsoAsked is, let me give you 3 reasons you should be using it. Number 1, AlsoAsked gives you the intent blueprint directly from Google to help you make the best possible content. You get live pre-clustered searcher questions that are bang up to date, the majority of which aren't available from big keyword research tools. This is for any country or any language that Google supports, and you can quickly download it and export it in graphical or text format. Number 2, AlsoAsked's timeline feature shows you when a topic's intent has changed. This lets you know when you need to refresh and update your content, and crucially, what has changed, what people are asking right now. Number 3, AlsoAsked's API allows you to integrate with popular tools like Screaming Frog and ChatGPT to automate tasks like content gap discovery. Set it up with Screaming Frog and you can press a button to get a list of questions your content misses on every single URL. You can try AlsoAsked for free right now. Just go and put a search term in the box. Everybody gets 90 searches per month for free. You don't even need an account. If you do want to sign up, you can cancel at any time with a monthly account, or if you do want to commit to an annual account, you'll get an additional 20% off. If you're still unsure, check out some of the brilliant case studies and guides below this video.
My guest this week has spoken at some of the most prestigious digital marketing conferences around the world, including Brighton SEO, that I have seen him speak at in person, by the way. You may recognize his voice from co-hosting some of the best digital marketing podcasts around, including SERPs Up, It's New, Edge of the Web, and the SEO Rant, as well as appearing as a guest on basically every other SEO podcast in the world. He is the founder of Unify Brand Marketing, and after 1,561 days, he makes his triumphant return to Search With Candour. Welcome back, Mordy Oberstein.
Wow, it's been that many days?
It has, yes. From the publication of one episode to the next.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm getting a call from Nemo the llama guy. Hold on.
Oh, sorry,
Okay.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let you take
Yes.
that one. We need a
No,
little
no.
quick llama delivery before
No,
we get
I'll
into
let it go to
branded
voicemail.
searches.
Okay.
Okay,
Nemo the
good,
llama
good.
guy. Inside joke.
Within
By the
8
way-
seconds, we're doing inside jokes, folks.
Yeah, no, but you said you saw me speak, but you didn't say well.
No. I'm not biased here. I'm just saying I saw you speak in person. Full
Right.
stop.
But usually
Very neutral.
usually
very
people
much.
say, I saw him speak and it was wow, like amazing.
Oh, he was so good.
Not,
He was so funny and smart and handsome.
right, no, but you
and,
didn't
yeah, all
say
that
that.
stuff.
So it's
No.
being implied that it wasn't good. By the way,
It's the unspoken things in our friendship, Bonnie. That's the things that really matter.
okay.
You know how
Yeah,
like a
so I
marriage
feel-
works, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know how marriage works. I'm married for 18 years. You want to talk about how marriage works? Or?
I'm coming up on 3. I've got some catching up to do, right?
Yeah, talk to me in 15 years, buddy. Also, Daniel Weisberg came after me. He did come after me. He came up to me after that talk. That was a long time ago. Wow, it's been a few years, and said I hated that.
Good to know. Good to know.
And my search console's never worked since, by the way.
Just personally tanking your search console.
It's just a whole weird thing. It redirects to a different URL. I have to remove the parameters, and that's how they get into Search Console. Weisberg
That
hates
makes
me.
sense.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Just add them to the list of people you've annoyed over the years at SEO, right?
Let's start with Barry.
Barry, Daniel, the list goes on.
Pretty much everybody else. Yep.
Pretty much. But we're not here to talk about you necessarily. We are here to talk about branded search. But that is definitely your area of
I'm out.
expertise.
We're not talking about me.
Well, in a way we are. You know, we talk a lot about brands and that kind of thing as a kind of very feels like a kind of nebulous phrase a lot of the time, right? And I think when it comes
like
to actually narrowing it down, exactly right, exactly. Yeah. We throw around a lot of phrases that maybe don't have such a clear definition when it comes to actually looking at the SEO and the search side of things and the broader marketing perspective.
Link building.
For us, well, yeah, that's a whole thing we can get into as well. But we're going to talk about branded search, and I think that's a interesting thing to talk about, especially with all the changes we're seeing currently in the SERPs and with what's going on with the shifts that are going on in the wider digital landscape of search engines and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of want to start things off with that definition to kind of narrow us down a little bit of like how we should define branded search, how we should identify branded keywords, all that kind of stuff. What's your kind of initial approach to identifying your brand in search if you are working with a client or working for in-house as well?
It's a pretty complicated process for me. So what I basically do is I ask the client, like, what's the name of your business? And they tell me the name of their business. And then I go into SEMrush and I put in the name of their business into the organic research tool and I filter out the keywords that way. And that'll tell me the keyword. Now, sometimes it gets tricky, like Buffalo Wild Wings. If you're not from the US, they're I'm on a wing craze recently. They're a great branding example, by the way.
As a British vegetarian, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've heard the name, but
it's like sauce, and it's like drunk people at a bar screaming about football, eating wings. It's everything I don't want. Being around other people who are drunk with wing sauce all over their faces, screaming at a TV like it matters. But they have an acronym though. Some people search for BWW, so you have to know the acronyms. That's where it gets a little bit. That's where you really earn your paycheck, looking up the branded searches.
I think it can definitely get tricky. Like I've experienced before where you have like a really generic brand name, like where it's just like a description of a wider industry or something like that, where it's not so clearly. If they were just called like Buffalo Wings, you'd be in a lot of trouble because
big trouble.
You
Absolutely
much more difficult to kind of narrow it all down, right?
And that's where it's. I'm being a little bit facetious. Like it is actually complicated. Sometimes it doesn't. Not true. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really straightforward. Okay, if you're putting like I don't know, SEMrush, it's or but it can get complicated. If you put like I don't know Wix in, right, and you're looking at the German market, Wix means something very different. So you might see a lot of branded keywords, but they might end up on Pornhub or be going to Pornhub, the top ranking result. Literally. So you do have to be careful. Generic things like my brand name is pretty generic, like Unify. There's a ton of Unifies. I kind of did that on purpose. Well, semi on purpose. One is the SEOs in this room are just going to like literally poop their pants when I say this. I didn't care about the SERP.
When I just shut off the podcast now. The screen just goes black.
That first they pooped their pants, and then which makes sense. Like if you pooped your pants, why would you stay in the podcast? You should go run to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Although it's possible if you're listening on your device and you're like, my bathroom's right near my computer.
Some people might be listening on the toilet right now.
That's interesting.
I've listened to a podcast on the toilet before.
I do a lot of things on the toilet. That didn't come out right. I watch a lot of YouTube is what I meant on the toilet.
Yeah. YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm watching baseball games on the toilet. Do you really need to like I'll watch like 8 innings of a baseball game on the toilet? Is that what your audience really needs to hear?
Again,
you feel better
as a Brit, I don't know if that's 5 minutes or 2 hours. It could be anything. Who knows?
It's like 2 hours.
There you go. Nice. That seems healthy. I'm sure that's fine. That's your brand, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
Unify Brand Marketing. We watch baseball on the toilet. Is the
Unify Brand Marketing? The best moments of life happen on the crapper.
Exactly.
Honestly, is that not true?
That's a brand. Absolutely. Yeah. Inspirational content right there.
Unify was, I'll tell you 2 things. And this is like why I did it. I'm not plugging myself. I'm just telling you my thought process. Okay. So I will not mention my brand name again if I can avoid doing so. So you know I'm not just like plugging myself and unifybrandmarketing.com over and over in your face, .com. It was an emotional, like, where is that, like, my personal, like, life journey. That title made sense. That brand name made sense. It's also it's a good differentiating point for me, right? Because I come from the brand side of the world. I also come from the performance marketing side of the world. And unlike my parents, I don't think they should be divorced. Waiting for the reaction there. So I didn't care about the fact that, there's so many Unify marketing things, yada, 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 yada. Now, by the way, it does work to my favor because I do rank for Unify marketing and I do get clicks from it, but they're not really looking for me. They're just looking for something, but I'll take the clicks, right? It mattered more to me that I should be happy with who my identity was and my points of differentiation than some like random like brand search. Which you might disagree with.
I think I think aligning your brand and your values and what you stand for and stuff, I think is so important for me when it comes to like brand loyalty and stuff. That's where I end up leaning towards, is the kind of companies I align with, right? And that's the difference between some other like huge conglomerate company and a one-person band. I'm more likely to go towards these smaller independent companies. Maybe that's because I'm a bleeding heart liberal, but whatever. There is that element of like aligning yourself with an identity online as well. And like you said, having a clear idea of what people are going to search for as they hear you talk about things, or you appear on podcasts or talk at conferences, where as your brand name grows, they kind of need something to grab onto, right? You can't just, I take absolutely no credit for this, but Candour being a perfect example. The reason we're called Candour is because we want to be open and honest with our clients, with each other, with our colleagues, with our partners, all that kind of stuff. There's a reason we go for that name, because it instantly conveys the kind of company you're going to be working for.
Yeah, and it also gives you direction of like how you want to go about your marketing, how do you want to go about your messaging, how do you want to go about your content, how do you want to go about whatever the marketing activities that you're doing. So like SEOs kind of get hung up on like, let's optimize the page. And you might go, okay, let's say all things being equal, you get that page, you get that ranking, you get that content, and you the traffic rather. Great. But the trade-off is all the other things I just said. You don't have direction about all of your marketing activities at whole. You don't have direction about your assets and what you should be doing and what you should be sponsoring and where you should be and who you should be speaking to and how you should be speaking to them. You don't have any of that. You rank the page, you got some traffic, and you got some conversions. Happy birthday. I hope you're proud of yourself. Dumbass. Sorry. too far.
You're back on the SEO rant podcast again.
That's it. My life is a rant.
But I think that is definitely true when it comes to, like you said, you can even get clicks from other brand names. Like I said, one of my clients has the reason I use the generic name example is they're basically named after the kind of things that they sell. So it would be like they were called runningshoes.co.uk. I'm like, cool. The TLD is great in some cases, but you then have no way of filtering brand search at all and getting a concept of how people are understanding your brand, the awareness of it growing and all that kind of stuff. And I was having this conversation with this client and being like, a lot of your products have your name in it because that is the name of the industry. So that doesn't really work. So we really need to kind of rely on other metrics of like, okay, cool. You want blue running shoes. They're not blue, your branded running shoes. That's just generic shoes. So how the hell do you filter that through? I guess the question there is like, how do you measure brand search? Is it literally just keeping an eye on those keywords you were mentioning, as facetiously as we were being earlier of like, ha, 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 just measure those keywords? How do you actually measure that stuff in
not
the
at
real
all.
term?
Okay. So like first off, like that, the running shoes example is like the worst of the worst possible scenarios, right? Because the product's not differentiated. So sometimes you can have a generic name, but the product's differentiated. So in search for Unify Brand Marketing, I know that's me. Or, like Unify, generate brand momentum. I know that's me because there's not a lot of that Unify for that out there. I did do research for. I'm not that stupid. I'm like my Twitter handle says, I only look like an idiot. So now Jack's like, got to run over to Twitter. Check that out. If the product's not differentiated, you're in big trouble. But you're not. But let's just say like the best case example. I don't know, like a really very clear Nike. I don't know, like something really clear. Buffalo Wild Wings. You know exactly what it is. You're not just looking at. First off, the least important thing in my mind, from the brand side of things, I know not from the performance side of things, is not the search volume. Okay, so I'm going to run through this. I just used this example in an SEJ thing. I'm going to repurpose the example here. Sorry. It's a different point, though. But it's like just the examples in mind because I know the stats. Is that okay to repurpose? I'm not saying...
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not doing the whole like SEO asshole thing where you go from like one podcast to the next podcast and you keep saying the same stupid crap all over again. I'm not calling anybody out for doing that.
You do enough podcasts that would be exhausting for you.
No, I do different. I know it's not true. Unless they specifically asked to cover that topic.
No, that's what I mean. Like, it would be exhausting for you to do the same thing.
Oh no, it's like
it's new, like over and over and over again.
It's so stupid and boring. Why would you want to do that? Ugh. The point of
we're getting the Morty magic, the Morty mania, right? That's what we're invested in.
Yeah, no, but it's like for myself, it's being selfish. Like, yeah, I get some great visibility out of this. I get to talk to you, but it's just fun to talk. Like, I like to talk. My wife wishes she was deaf, but sometimes she pretends that she is. Anyway, now I lost my whole track. I have five more jokes, and I have to stop. It's not the search volume. So, like, for example, Buffalo Wild Wings' big competitor is called Wingstop. Wingstop has more branded traffic. I don't know the exact number, but I know Wingstop's exact number. Wingstop's exact number is like 5.5 million visitors per month per SEMrush. Very good. And Buffalo Wild Wings is 4.4 million, something like that. It's not exactly that because I didn't factor in when I looked at the data looking for Buffalo Wild Wings and BWW. By the way, SEMrush request if you can add in multiple inclusions but either or. That would be a good feature to have. Okay. I could talk to them about that. So like I think it's like another 500,000 visitors that come from that acronym, but fine. But it's less search volume, it's less traffic from the branded keywords. That matters least to me. What matters more to me are two things. One is Wingstop has something like, I think in the US, like I don't remember the US number. I don't know the total globally. Off the top of my head, they have like 97,000 branded keywords, like individual keywords that are registering the tool. Buffalo Wild Wings has something like 215,000. That matters more to me. That matters more to me if the keywords are related. The keyword modifier is related to the actual thing that the brand does, right? So if people are searching for like Nike air conditioner, don't care. That's just crap.
But you got to match it up with that search intent, right?
No, that's just like, okay, the world is filled with crazy people. I don't know why so many people are searching for Nike air conditioner, but I also don't know why so many people voted for Donald Trump. So,
wow, yeah,
I'm confused. Color me confused. I also don't know why so many people voted for the other person either. Does that make that a little bit? Yeah, I don't. Can I be? I don't know why anybody voted. Everyone just should have stayed home and said no.
I mean, that would be interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
We want something good. Like, you're offering me a choice between like pistachio ice cream and strawberry ice cream. I'm in chocolate chip. I'm staying home.
Yeah, fair.
That's a horrible thing to say. Like, get out the vote. It's like, I'm going to stop now.
The opposite of don't go and vote. The problem is, and this is a whole other conversation, if you say that, only the people who listen to you will do that.
No, yeah, I know.
Don't listen. So all of your people you don't politically align with will then go and vote.
Correct. I'm not saying you should actually do that. I'm saying it'd be amazing if everyone got together and decided, and you knew everyone decided we're not doing this anymore.
Completely like non-partisan unification.
Yeah,
we unify to steal.
We unify, and we just want better people in general.
There you go.
We want like good people
for marketing and for politics.
Yes. Okay. We need to stop. Okay. So what you want is the increased number of branded queries, but they relate to the service. So like, wow, I don't know, let's take Nike and Adidas. Okay, so Nike, I'm making the numbers up. Okay, Nike's got 10 million branded search queries, and Adidas has 5 million. And all of Nike's are things like Nike shoes, Nike athletic apparel, Nike jerseys, Nike headbands, Nike other kind of shoes. That's all like real. Even if they had less search volume traffic, less branded search traffic, I feel like they're a better off position as a brand because people are looking at them from a wider lens. Like, oh, Adidas, you're only relevant for these things. Let's assume that Adidas is more than just those things, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem. Nike, you're relevant for all of those things. Like, wow, Nike has real brand breadth. That's a tongue twister. And brand variety that has real resonance. Which, by the way, Mark Williams Cook, who you might have heard of.
Never heard of him.
Oh no, he does a lot of exploiting.
Oh, okay.
I heard
of data and things, apparently.
Yes, yeah. If you see him in a dark alley, I would be careful.
I've literally seen Mark Williams Cook in a dark alley.
He might hug you
in the cold, dark streets of Norwich. It's terrifying.
Yeah, right. Like really, just like scary stuff. So he said this in his Search Norwich presentation. Which, if this audience hasn't heard of that, you're not doing your job.
I mean, yeah, that talk's got 15 times more views than any episode of this podcast has. So I think they might have done.
But in there, he talked about the value of brand mentions next to the product or service offering. Okay, so there's actual, besides the fact that it tells you this brand resonates in a way that brand doesn't resonate with their audience, it also tells Google that you're relevant for all of these things that the other brand is not necessarily being told that they're relevant for. So it's not just there's the amount of traffic you're getting from branded searches, which is what the SEOs always focus on. Stop. Look at the variety of the keywords, because that's a huge signal about what your brand might actually be able to rank for now, but also how your brand is resonating overall with its audience.
Yeah, I think that's definitely relevant. Like, I've seen examples where we've gone down that route of looking at the branded keywords, and then you realize, oh, some of them are like brand name, controversy, brand name, issues, brand name, complaints. You're like, yeah, that's the opposite of that. Like you said, you want things that are targeted towards your products. You want things that are going to have that clearer transactional intent, that kind of customer intent that you want to come into it, rather than a broader search of what is this company? I had a genuine example from an e-commerce client of mine a couple of years ago was, is this brand legit? And I was like, that is a fascinating thing to see, because what have you done to get that reputation, right? Is there some dodgy
No
shipping
one.
stuff going on here? All that kind of
No
stuff.
one.
And we had this conversation of like, should we include in our FAQs to answer that question? Because it's popping up on like PAA data. Like, obviously we were looking at it from an AlsoAsked perspective and being like, yeah, people keep asking if you're a legit company, because they were doing like license deals with a lot of big IPs for like merchandise and stuff like that. And I was like, is this all legit? And that's a genuine question. If you see like a random, I don't know, Marvel hoodie or whatever, like on the street, chances are that's probably some dodgy knockoff
Oh yeah.
thing. Or if you see it online, 90% of the time it's going to be some drop shipping thing from Temu or AliExpress or TikTok shop or whatever, right? But these were legit. I had conversations with them about their licensing deals. It was totally legit. But because that industry had built up a reputation of being dodgy, they then had the thing of like, do we address this in our content? Like, do we need to address this in our FAQ to like manage our brand expectations and stuff?
I just posted about this on somewhere. I don't even know what. There's so many social media platforms now. I don't even know. Can I tell you, I've legit showed up on my phone. It's like, what the hell? I totally answered. Oh, I'm on Blue Sky now.
Yeah.
I forgot. So somewhere out there on my various social media accounts, or it might be on the Unify account, I talked about audience skepticism. No matter how good your message, and you're talking about a case where like there's like a real issue. I would say what you're talking about, I know we're getting a little bit off track, applies everywhere. Okay, let's say I'm a really trusted brand. All right, you people know me, they trust me, they whatever. Okay, Nike. That's it. All right, fine, whatever, Nike. We'll go with that. Hoka.
We always use running in SEO. We always use running shoes and Nike.
I don't know what it is. Also, Nike
by default, just play it safe.
If you don't know the Nike SEO story, you're missing out. You're missing out. It is such a fact. Could we digress for a minute and come back, or do you rather not?
Absolutely, man. Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, please.
Oh man, Nike, bunch of buffoons. So. Tell me what you think, Morty. Nike decided to go B2C and go all in by going B2C, because believe it or not, Nike was a B2B company, but they were more focused on Foot Locker than they were you. They decided we're going to go digital and go B2C. We can make more money going B2C than we can going B2B. What they didn't realize was a few things. One is just from a business operations point of view, B2C is way more expensive, because now you have to handle order fulfillment in a totally different way. Not sure why like no one realized that at such a big company. Also, not surprised that no one realized that at such a big company. Now, what happened was COVID hit. And Nike did what a lot of people in the digital space did. They saw a big thing, hockey stick graph going up, like, wow, this is amazing. This will last forever, without thinking about their audience. Because you know what the last thing you want to buy other than underwear is off the internet? Shoes, right? You want to go, by the way, sorry for saying right. That's not like, I hate when I do that, right? If it wasn't right, I wouldn't have said it.
I mean, yeah. As someone with size 13 shoes, I am on that borderline of some stores will just not have my size, and some 13s will fit me. Some 12.5s maybe a push. Sometimes I have to go up to a 14, and then that's going to be some specialist thing that only some big tall thing will have to do. And it's like I'm right on that borderline of I need to go and try these things on. I cannot be buying these things online.
No. Listen, I'll tell you, like I do buy my shoes. Like, look, like these shoes, they're starting to crack. These can you see the crack? There's a little crack there.
Yeah.
Yep. See it?
Okay. I'll do a dramatic zoom on YouTube for you.
Yeah. These are Rockports to make you feel like an old person, but they're super comfortable. And usually Rockports are like very quality. These are crap. So listening. So I no longer live in America. I only like buying things from America because like that's just like my jam. Like I can't handle like the European size thing.
You can take the Morty out of New York, but you can't take the New York out of Morty.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't understand this whole like the difference. I can't. Like I know I'm a size 10. All right. Also, like the same shoe here would cost double. Like fine, I'm just gonna like screw that. Just going to order on Amazon and there's free shipping. So I will order my shoes online. So I order a new pair of shoes. Shul, by the way, is Yiddish for synagogue. I didn't order a new pair of shoes for all my Jewish listeners. I ordered a new pair of shoes. So as I was saying, I ordered a new pair of shoes online, and they were the right size. They were size 10. Like I know my shoe size, but some shoes are just cut differently than other shoes, and they're a little big. And like if they weren't 3 times, by the way, I'm going to hold this shoe the whole rest of the episode. If it weren't for the fact that the shoe is 10 times more expensive here, I wouldn't have ordered them online. I would have gone to the store. Nike said, you know what? We're not going to think about our audience. We're just going to double down on digital and performance. And this boost from COVID will never go away. It will stay like this forever. Guess what happened? People said, the stores are open. I would really like to try this shoe on. And their digital sales went down. They forgot about their B2B places like Foot Locker. Foot Locker's like, what do we put on the shelves? And the reason why you know of On and Hoka is because of Nike. Because they literally left the shelf space open and the stores were like, what do we put here? How about this Hoka stuff? And people are like, oh, love Hoka. My wife swears by Hoka now. And they not only did they do that, they opened the door for their competition, destroyed their brand momentum. Their stock price, when their earnings didn't match, lost 20% of its value.
Woof.
Now they're saying, Nike says, we're going back to branding and ditching performance. That's what happens when you go to SEO. You lose 20% of your stock value and you open the door for your competitors. I forgot we were talking about before this, but that's a fascinating story, right?
Yeah, I think there's that. Like you said, the management of reputation online is such a thing, right? And so many brands really overcommitted to online stuff when it came to the COVID thing. You're exactly right, where suddenly everybody realizes like, no, I want to do this in a shop. I want to go in and try this thing on in person or have a conversation with a real human being, not an AI chatbot that we are inundated with these days. But there's definitely that, I think, that post-COVID kind of shift for a lot of stores, especially e-commerce stuff, where they massively overestimated their power online and overcommitted to it. And then now are kind of like still even, we're almost 5 years since the original lockdown here in the UK. Like it's still feeling that repercussions. We still talk about it in marketing. We still talking about it in brands. When you're talking to clients and you backtrack across like, oh, what's your traffic over there? Oh, there's a weird spike or a weird dip. Either way. That's where, pandemic times. Yeah, that's what that's the COVID spike.
That was a pandemic.
Like
we don't talk about that.
Exactly, yeah. We work with like health and safety and like medical clients and stuff like that. And unsurprisingly, there was a huge spike in interest. A lot of stuff they were doing because there were so many more regulations in office spaces and workplaces and things like that. Suddenly, everybody needed the health and safety signs and proper PPE and all this kind of stuff. Maybe we should have told that to the UK government, but that's a whole other conversation. And there's that.
Yeah.
There's the element there of like overcommitting to one side of things and even shifting your brand, becoming less aligned with what really brought you to the dance in the first place, right?
So I'm at a fork in the road right now. You tell me where you want to go. We can either talk about Boris Johnson or I can go back to my original point.
It's a dangerous conversation we got into Boris Johnson, mate. We'll be here all day. Trust me.
Okay. So what we were talking about before is skepticism. So let's say you're Nike and people trust your brand. They love your brand. There's no you're going to get a quality product. You're not going to get a rip shoe like Morty has. Like Nike's great. There's still skepticism. There's always because you know why? That's how a human brain works. There's multiple. You ever see the movie? What's it called? It's a cartoon movie with the voices, like the emotions. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Inside Out.
Inside Out. Okay. Actually, I watched the first one. I didn't watch the second one. I have to watch the second one.
Apparently, the second one's great.
Oh, my wife loved it. I just like, I was like, I don't have the headspace for that right now. I'm too emotional. So, you have these different parts of you, these different voices, and one part is trusting, okay, and one part is not trusting. And if you don't realize that these are both healthy parts of the human psyche, as a brand, you're going to flub this. You're going to be like, okay, people trust us. We have trust. No matter how much you trust somebody, okay, there's always a little bit of doubt. Like I give my kids a credit card, go to the corner store to buy a loaf of bread. I trust but I also have a little bit of worry they're going to come back with a thing of candy. Like sometimes my worry is duly concerned. Is rightly concerned, rather. There's always a little bit of skepticism, and you as a brand have to address that. Now, in some cases, it expresses itself things around like, okay, I know Nike, I like Nike. Is this really the right shoe for me? Like maybe it's like the high top, maybe it's not the right shoe for me, or maybe it's not just really like the right price for this shoe. Or is this shoe going to be like in a year from now, if it lasts forever, am I still going to really want this? Is this shoe like I like right now, but don't want right? Like there's always some kind of like part of you that's doubting your purchase, especially when you're spending a decent amount of money. That you as a brand, if you're smart, should predict and head off. Like I recommend to my clients, like, okay, here's like where are the skepticism, forget the pain points. Where are the skepticism points and how do you address that? Let's have an FAQ. Let's have a social media post about it. Now, if you're talking about a brand, whereas an industry, right? Like there's a lot of like skepticism. You should absolutely get ahead of that. Like if your niche are Ponzi schemes, you should definitely get ahead of that. Like, no, we know the whole made up thing, not going to happen to you. But I feel like, can I tell you, the only people who get ahead of it like that are the Ponzi scheme people, because they know they have to get it. And the legitimate people, right? Who I did the right thing. Damn it, I'm right. How many Harrison Ford moment? If I said it, it's right. If you're a legitimate brand, you're generally kind of concerned. Do we lead into that? Are we creating more skepticism? The answer is yes. You have to address it because that's a normal thing for people to be concerned with. So provide the answers. And you, by the way, as an SEO, you're in a great position to help your brand out because you're the comms people, the brand people, they are not looking at branded queries, even though they should be. So as much criticism I have of SEOs and brand, it goes right back at y'all, yo brand marketers. You should be looking at SEO data. You're in a position to tell the brand, hey, there's this keyword that keeps popping up and it's got a lot of search volume. Maybe you have a brand problem. Now, sometimes what the SEOs do is say, oh, let's address this on the SERP. But the problem is not the SERP. The SERP is a symptom of the brand problem. Okay? The SERP is an expression of the wider problem. So if you're just dealing with it from an SEO perspective, you're kind of missing the point. Also, it works the opposite way. I saw this with the NFL. I'm going to go sports ball. I always go sports ball. The NFL stands for the National Football League, which is the American football, which has very little to do with your feet and a lot to do with your hands and throwing. Not sure why it's called football, but whatever. And it's not because the ball's a foot long. That's not true. The NFL, a couple of years ago, added an extra game. So they went from 16 to 17 games. This, by the way, is significant. I'll give you context for all of you Brits who don't understand this. Football is a real man's sport. They get hit. They run through things. They deal with
From what
pain.
I understand, it's like rugby for wusses, right? Like it's rugby for people with lots of armor and padding and stuff, right?
Oh,
yeah.
And now you can't hit this way and you can't hit that way because of concussions and blah blah blah. Okay, shut up. Okay, you don't want to get hit. Sign up to be a librarian or something. Okay,
go and play British football. Go and play soccer instead.
Go play baseball. Right?
Yeah.
Also, It's not the concussions the NFL's lying to you. It's the repeated subconcussive blows to the head, which the NFL, by the way, is a brand thing. Brands will have the ability, and it's a horrible ability, to lie to you and to position themselves a certain way where it's completely not true.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I'm jumping around a little bit. I'll get back to like how you as an SEO can use the NFL as an example. But I want to call out can I use your platform to call out the NFL for being creeps?
Sure. Yeah. I'm British. You do what you like.
Yeah. Thanks. it's a good, but it has real value. Like it just shows you like that Spider-Man line, like with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep.
Which I can't.
Now you're talking about language.
Yeah, a movie line became like a life lesson like that, but it's a good life lesson. The NFL a few years ago.
Oh, it's not a movie line. Whoa. Don't step into my world of movies and comics and tell me what is and what isn't.
Don't tell me I'm stepping into your world. I was reading comics when you were still applauding your dad's testicles.
Maybe, yeah.
All right.
1990? Probably.
I've been reading comics in the 80s.
There you go.
I remember before you had glossy pages, okay? They were like the newspaper pages.
They were like newspaper. Yeah.
Yeah. All right? Don't talk to me. But yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to step all over you like that. Please put me down.
Well, if you're talking about sports ball, then I've gotten into the bad habit of talking about comics and movies. So
nice. What were we talking about again? No. So
the responsibility of understanding your brand.
Responsibility. Spider-Man is a good real lesson, and Spider-Man's not a comic book. It's he's real. So
he's real.
Yeah. He's in your neighborhood right now. Running around. But if you saw a guy running around your neighborhood with spandex and a mask on, you would either have them committed or lock your door. But okay, the NFL had there's a movie about this, by the way, with Will Smith called Concussion. It's a great movie. Ironic, it's about like getting a blow to the head, and Will Smith is in it advocating not doing that. There's an irony in it. So a doctor, the whole story is a doctor from Pittsburgh, actually a doctor from Nigeria who was working in Pittsburgh, was doing an autopsy on one of my favorite all-time players, Mike Webster from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he's like, why did this guy die homeless in his car? He's like Mike Webster is beloved by the city of Pittsburgh. Like this doesn't make any sense. And on his own, he chopped up his brain, which I know doesn't sound legal, and found there was a hard protein inside his brain because he looked at his brain and found that brain looks normal. And then he asked, what's football? And he saw football. Like, how does that brain look normal? And found that it wasn't actually normal, only looks normal on the outside. Kind of like me. It only looks normal on the outside, but when you cut it open, there's a whole lot of abnormality in there. And found that when football players were banging their heads against each other, it was creating a protein that released that hardened the brain on the inside and caused them to go nuts later in life, which is what happened to Mike Webster. The NFL, because of this finding, okay, this man, by the way, got offered to be the Surgeon General of the United States of America. Like, this is a very smart man and a very important discovery. The NFL said, we have a brand problem. Not like, we have a real problem, we've hurt people. They said, we have a brand problem. And said, we're going to now lean into preventing concussions. We're going to create new technology and new this and new protocols and new rules. You can't tackle like this anymore. You can only tackle like that, making the game no longer as fun as it used to be. But they're lying to you because, and the same doctor said this, I'm not making it. The issue is not concussions. The issue is repetitive subconcussive blows to the head. So the NFL rebranded themselves caring about concussions and are consciously lying to their audience that actually means anything, and consciously lying to their players that they're preventing them from actually being hurt long term. Back to how you can help the NFL with SEO. Now, if you really want to, the NFL got rid of one of their regular season games. Added to the regular season games, and the deal they made with the players was, we're going to get rid of one of the preseason games, one of the practice games. This way your body won't be hurt, right? You'll still be playing the same amount of actual games, but one of them will now count. And they abandoned the preseason because no one cares about the preseason. There's a lot of Google searches about NFL preseason. How can I watch preseason? How do I go to a preseason game? Like a lot of positive searches about the preseason. You as an SEO, if you have if you don't have any moral integrity, would go to the NFL and say, I don't know why you're abandoning the preseason. People are really interested. I can show you. There's 55,000 different searches for the preseason that have, X level of traffic. And that, by the way, should help you as an SEO show your real value to your company. And now I've talked a lot. Sorry.
You're literally here to talk, Morty. It's a podcast. Don't worry.
I feel bad. Sorry. I'm horrible.
But I think you're like going back around to a lot of the skepticism we've been seeing recently and the manipulation, like coming from my perspective, I don't know anything about the NFL, but I know a whole lot about pro wrestling, and CTE is a massive problem with the WWE and pro wrestling as well.
Yeah.
And they've done the exact same thing of brand management and protecting themselves and all this kind of stuff, where it seems like it's helping the athletes and supporting health and all this kind of stuff. Just as, again, not to get too political, the US pulls out of the World Health Organization and all this kind of stuff. It's like the skepticism around brands and even experts, as you were saying, like even when it comes to, this was reported to by the guy who was the Surgeon General. It's like, cool, but people don't trust experts anymore. I think we're seeing that as a shift with a lot of the PR stuff that we're doing, especially like digital PR that we're seeing. Oh, bring in an expert to talk about this thing, but users and readers are more skeptical than ever before, right?
That's correct. That is so on point. There's the web. Now we're getting into like the web. Oh man, is that a disaster? I feel like I don't mean this as a hot take. I feel the web is fundamentally broken, and I'm not sure how it's going to get fixed. And I'm not sure if it will ever get fixed. I feel it's, the web is like streaming. It's like TV. TV's broken. All the different streaming things. If I want to watch a baseball game, I got to buy Netflix, and I got to buy Apple, and I got to buy this, and I got to buy that. Whole thing is broken. TV's broken. The web is very much broken in similar ways and reasons, actually. But one of them is that there's so much noise. Everyone's posting, everyone's creating content, and blah 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 blah. Which one creates just clutter, and you can't resonate. Which, by the way, brings brand into focus. Thank you very much. And a little plug for brand there. Also brings up skepticism. If there's so much, and there's so much, and it's so, and I'm not sure if it's AI even, and I'm not sure like what their intentions are, and I'm not sure if like this is the best thing, and I'm not sure this, and I'm not sure that, and the web overall, people are not stupid. Just because you can't. I want to say something that I think is a profound point. Profound points with Morty. Just because you can't verbalize.
This will be the social clip. So let's get a clean cut here of profound moments with Mordy Oberstein. This is the clip that will go on Instagram, Blue Sky, etc.
Just because you can't verbalize it in clear, distinct, definable terminology does not mean you're not aware of it.
That's deep, man. That's deep.
It is. It's very important. It's called latent life. I'm not Freud or anything, but it's really important. Your latent life and your latent feelings, you're very much aware of them. They're just not exactly conscious. People are very skeptical. They may not be going onto the whatever social media platform going, I am very skeptical of this. Let me ask you a question. Because I feel like that's what brands are expecting. Well, if they're not doing that, they're not skeptical, huh? They're very latently skeptical because of all the things I just talked about, and it manifests itself everywhere. And if you as an SEO, if you as an anybody, a PPC person, content, social media brand, whatever you're doing, are not tapped into the idea that people are not buying it anymore because we've pushed so hard. By the way, it's partly our fault. It's our fort, but it's our fault too. Fort on you. I just made a fort. It was silent. Anyway, it's just potty humor now. I lost my thought completely. I can't believe I made a fart joke. I'm sorry.
You fart joked your way out of the interesting discussion you were having. Yeah.
Yeah. No, if you're not leaning into that and understanding that and trying to meet your audience there, you're out for your own fault. We've pushed the button so hard. All the ad retargeting. That's the easiest example of it. All that ad retargeting. What has it done is produce massive amount of pushback. Okay. All of the SEO content we've created, all the AI content we've created has produced a massive amount of pushback. And that's why, by the way, I know like this is how my brain works. Okay, I'm sorry. I just kind of like go. That's why I said it's very similar to what's happening on the streaming platforms. I predict, by the way, and I actually have this in my email, do a video about this, but you'll get the exclusive first. But it'll be another video on my YouTube. I don't have it. My social media, whatever. The reason I predict the NFL, which is a gargantuan source of eyeballs, is going to for years, it's only been gaining popularity. Over the next 5 years, you're going to see that trend reverse unless they reverse course. And you're going to see that across all other platforms. You already see it with the NBA, okay? And Chuck Barley, love his soul, hilarious, is saying that's all about how the NBA game is played, which is true. The product does suck, but it's also about how the product is being distributed. You have to know marketing, Chuck. Oh, that's horrible. I can't do Chuck Barley. It's not just the fact that the NBA is a terrible product right now. It's that if you want to watch it, okay, you have to have an ESPN Plus subscription. You have to have, I don't know what else, you have to have a Netflix subscription. You have to have this subscription and that subscription. If I am not a hardcore fan, I'm out. And the numbers are going down.
Watch highlights on YouTube or whatever, right?
That's what they do. That number's going up like crazy. Okay?
Exactly. Yep.
It's an inverse relationship. The more highlight clips you get more views, the more the actual sports watching happens. So the NFL is seeing way more highlights at a certain point because now, for a long time, what they did was they just squeeze and milk the networks. Fox, CBS, and NBC, we're going to milk you for as much money as we can. And you know what? I didn't care because those are also all horrible. They're all horrible people. Just milking each other. I'm not sure they came out the way.
That's the social clip right there. That's the one I'm clipping out. We're all just horrible people milking each other in big caps, TikTok style, straight up on OnlyFans.
You should have a picture of an udder or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. But now the NFL's like, oh, wait a second. Major League Baseball went to Amazon, or the Yankees went to Amazon. Major League Baseball went to
WWE's just gone to Netflix.
Netflix, right? Yeah. They're like, oh, we could do this. We could do this. So they sold Thursday Night Football to Amazon, and they sold their Christmas games to Netflix.
Yep.
So and they think they're Mr. Burns on The Simpsons. Indestructible. Okay? They think they're indestructible. Let me tell you something about who's indestructible on this planet. No one. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger. But other than that, no one.
I know he had a lot of issues with his maid and baby mamas and stuff. That was pretty.
But he's still here, and he became a better person for it, I feel like.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
Maybe I'm being fooled. I kind of feel like Arnold's a genuine person with flaws. And tries to
I agree. That's the vibe I get as well. Yeah. But again,
and that's why I like him.
Filter of celebrity and social media and stuff, of course.
Yeah.
But
I really like him. And I can be totally buying into his brand trap, but I don't think that's actually true. I think he's he's a person who has many, many flaws who tries to fix them. And I really like that because I am a person with many, many flaws who tries to fix them, which I know that people are shocked. He's trying. I'm trying.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier, that shift when it comes to people moving to different platforms and stuff like that. I know this has been a big discussion in SEO. Everybody been every 3 or 4 weeks, SEO is dead. TikTok is here. TikTok is dead. Here's this new platform. SEO is dead again. We're all moving to this thing instead. That's why I do affiliate marketing. That's why I do this thing instead. It's not going to go away overnight, but it's definitely a conversation you need to have. Like you said, when you're coming around and splitting the audience in that way of okay, if you're doing highlight clips, again, I do it on the podcast here. We do the highlight clips on the social media stuff. You do the longer form stuff on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that kind of stuff. There's that split of audience where the people consuming your YouTube shorts or your TikToks or your Instagram reels aren't necessarily going to be the same people that are going to come through and buy your product, watch your podcast, whatever it is, right? And the same is true for sports. The same is going to be true for your little local brand that sells gardening tools or whatever it is, or the huge conglomerates like Nike. When it comes to that side of things, do you think we're shifting in that direction when it comes to a lot of the AI stuff? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about brand mentions when it comes to Perplexity and ChatGPT search and AI overviews and all that kind of stuff, right? It's all about, focusing on the brand mentions. But how actually valuable is that? You're waving your hands here. How valuable actually is that for brands, do you think?
I think like everyone's talking about this stuff, and I do think mentions do matter for LLMs, but like I don't look at it like the number of mentions. It's like your general web presence matters, and like in order to have a web presence, like the name of your brand needs to be mentioned. Like what else are they going to talk about, right? I feel like the problem is very much kind of like the NFL. Like the problem with the NFL is the mindset, right? It's the mindset that we're indestructible. But you're not, because what's going to happen is you're charged. Now I have to, if I want to watch the NFL, I'm out of market, so I can just pay one time. I'm lucky. But if you're in the US, you have to pay 3 different platforms now to watch all the games.
Yep.
My
the same
uncle,
with the WWE, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Like in the
right?
US, you've got the SmackDown and Raw and NXT
Yeah,
brands all
yeah, it's on
split
Netflix.
between different
Yeah,
things.
it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the
I saw
UK,
that pop
it's
up
all
on
on
Netflix.
Netflix. Don't care.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Exactly. So you have your hardcore, like my uncle will go to whatever sports bar to like watch whatever game it's at. He's a lunatic. Okay, like I'm not. I'm a big sports fan. I'm not for the Yankees. I am, but like for like other sports, I'm not. I'm just not gonna. I'm just not. If it's not, I wanted to watch the Knicks game the other night. It was on like local time for me. I'm like, where the hell? I ever know where the hell the thing was? I'm like, forget it. I didn't even look. The second I had to say to myself, like, where is this game? Which platform? I was out. That's going. It's a mindset problem. The NFL is a mindset problem of thinking we can just keep pumping this gas and it's not a problem. But the more you pump the gas and the more you push your audience to the brink, the more they're just going to move away from you. And the problem with SEOs and performance marketing in general is they're talking about brand mentions, they're talking about this, they're talking about that. But what they really have to do is take their foot off the gas for a minute and realize, like, read the room. Where are things at? Users are skeptical. Things are volatile with all of the algorithms. Forget it's Google. All the algorithms are a mess right now.
Yeah, 100%.
The users are inundated with content. Things don't resonate the same way. There's an increased level of skepticism. Like that whole ecosystem requires a new way of not behaving. It requires a new way of thinking, which will influence your behaving. But SEOs just jump to the behaving part. Like if they were psychology, they'd be behavior modification, where they would really need like some psychoanalysis going on.
Yeah. I think there's that. Shifting in mindset, I think, is a good way of putting it, because we are in so many ways looking too far forward and also stuck in our ways at the same time. There doesn't seem to be that kind of the actual looking at the current situation and taking a broader kind of snapshot and getting that perspective. I feel like we're either, and to quote the amazing Arnaud Hellmans here, ooh, shiny thing. We're always obsessed with the shiny things, because us as SEOs, us as marketers, like you said, performance marketing, it's all about numbers. It's all about new things. Oh, I can optimize this thing or make this thing more efficient with this LLM or this GPT or whatever. But actually, and again, having the broader conversation, like speaking with my wife, like she used ChatGPT for the first time a couple of weeks ago. And everyone I know and talk about marketing with on the podcast, talk about with SEOs and stuff like that, we've been using it for a while now. But it's the fact that it's not actually getting out there into the broader humans, the normies, for want of a better phrase, unlike us who are that are chasing the new shiny technology stuff. Like my wife used ChatGPT, never even heard of Perplexity, let alone
right. Oh yeah,
let alone Claude, let alone any of the other ones. But it happens to be that ChatGPT has made some noise, or she's heard me talk about it because she lives with a person who talks about SEO for a living. So it's like an unavoidable thing at the end of the day when it comes to, yeah, okay, I heard Jack mention it. What does that actually mean though? And when it comes to explaining the difference between, so if I search for something, how does that work? If I'm looking for somebody's website or a brand's website, what comes up? I'm like, try it. I don't know. Let's find out together. Like there's a real kind of level of everybody getting caught up and carried away and excited. And like you said, not really thinking about the impact that can have in the short term now, and then what's happening in the long term compared to, oh yeah, well, I'm just going to keep on doing the same thing. Or I'm going to do this wild thing and just follow the trends. There's a balance you really need to strike there to get it right.
Yeah. You need to think. I'll make one last point because I know we're gone for a long time. You need to actually think, because that attitude, okay, you're being manipulated. You're being manipulated by brands like Google or Microsoft or whoever, because they're not bought in on AI the way that you're actually bought in on AI. They're bought in on AI because they know it'll increase their stock price. And they're talking
100%.
about things and developing
have
things.
you seen Nvidia stock of the last year? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Like they know exactly what they're doing. I'm telling you this. I can't even I don't violate any NDAs. I'm telling you this. Okay. This is how Google is operating. They're thinking about their stock price, and they're talking about AI and hyping it up because of the stock price. And then they get you to be hyped up about it, and you're all hyped up about it because that helps their stock price. You're being manipulated.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's like as much as we're all skeptical and we're all getting manipulated and stuff, I think we need to be aware of what we always think about, like the KPIs and business goals for our clients and our brands and stuff like that. But for bigger companies that are controlling this kind of stuff, there is that huge element. We talked about it. I know Mark and I talked about it last year when it comes to the amount of money that Google makes from ads. It's something I talked about with Anu Adigbola a few weeks ago.
Oh, Anu's the best.
Anu's the best. Like we had a whole conversation about how SEOs can learn from PPC people and vice versa, because Google cares about PPC in a way that they do not care about SEO. And there is so much stuff that, as people who are essentially giving Google the money that they need to drive, like you said, drive these profits and revenue and all that kind of stuff, we SEOs are not doing that. We're riding on the back of Google's systems. We're not providing them much money and much value. Whereas the people that are pumping money into the ads and optimizing the ads is actually something we could probably learn a lot from. And I think brand alignment is a huge part of that. You will see somebody say one thing on social media, a different thing in an ad, and then in a different thing when you find it organically on the SERP. It's like, okay, so are you like what was the phrase, the like problematic social media stuff that people are doing, like the wacky over the top off brand type stuff? Like I think I used this example when I was talking to Ray Sadiq last year. There was a Ryanair, the cheap flights here in the UK and Europe, was like they had some real cringe off kilter kind of social media stuff. You go to the website and it's like cheap brand budget things and very clean and corporate and stuff. And like, we were talking about crazy weird stuff and like putting armrests up people's butts in your social media. But then that was a Prince William joke, I hasten to add. And then it just, you go to the website and it's like, welcome to genuine, clean cut corporate thing. It's like, where's the alignment here at all? Like, it happens all the time.
All the time. And that's an extreme example, but literally one of the things that I have in my audit package is a brand alignment audit, because people are like all over the place. It's crazy.
Especially if a brand has like one team working on one thing, like say, take again using Nike or the NFL or WWE as these huge companies. Like, yeah, they'll have a design and brand team that has never spoken to their paid ads team, or their social team is a completely different thing.
Never talked
and
to
their
the
organic
social
team is
team.
a totally different thing. They've never had conversations with each other.
It's insane. You would think that, no, that can't possibly be true. No. It's not only true, it's not only the norm, it's the rule.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's finish things off. I've got one more question for you, Morty. We'll round things off with, do you think brand is more important or will continue to be more important as we see the growth of LLMs and AI search and stuff like that? Or do you think this is the beginning of the end of brands as we know it? Which direction? Make a prediction, a patented Mordy Oberstein prediction.
Oh yeah, I should totally make it. The guy offering brand marketing service is going to say, no, brand is dead.
I thought so. Yeah. Well, sorry you're going to go out of business, mate. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Listen, can I borrow $5? No, I mean, let's be like honest. Like, the reason why I'm betting on brand being big, which is why I opened the brand consultancy now, because I feel like, for a couple of reasons. One is there's always been, that's a real word, I speak English. There's always been a problem where brands are just off the rails. They go off on crazy, like the Ryanair thing kind of thing. But AI has kind of done that to, I don't know, like the nth degree, where now these brands are start chasing every little AI thing. And the reason why that happens, by the way, just so you understand, like why is it happening, is that brands lack identity. Because when you have strong identity, you know, okay, I stay here. I can maybe move a little bit there, a little bit there. I stay here. When you lack identity, you end up chasing all different sorts of things. And these brands, I want to tell you another thing about these brands, is they all think they have like really good branding.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
Like, yeah, you think I'm like, wow, they're looking like they are geniuses. It's literally like Donald Trump is like at the head of all of these brands. It's great. This is the most brilliant thing ever. I have the best branding.
Everything's
no
okay.
one does something like me. Best brand.
Stupid.
Everyone says it. So I can't believe it took us an hour to do a Donald Trump impersonation.
I know, right?
They don't realize. Yeah, they don't realize that. We call him Mr. McBrand. They don't realize.
That was Animal from Muppets. That was definitely not Donald Trump.
No, we went too far. Sorry. I went full Trump.
Me like brand.
Who cares?
Exactly.
They don't realize this. They don't have identity. They don't have that identity, and they end up chasing things. So I think that brands more needed than ever, because they at a certain point, these brands are going to realize they need to be reeled back in. On the LLM side, it's all about brand. Okay, like you hey, performance marketer of all kinds. You think Sam Altman's so stupid that he said, hey, you know what? Like, people can reverse engineer this thing with feedback? Do you really think he's that dumb? I mean, like, kind of comes off like a nozzle, but he's not, like, you can't, I'm sure it has some impact, like, but you can't, like, optimize a thing by reverse engineering it with feedback. You just have to have a big digital presence. And the only way to have a digital presence is to resonate. And the only way to resonate is to have a strong brand identity, positioning, and messaging. So brand is more important than ever. I hope. This has been sponsored by my company. I sponsor my own rant.
Well, if people do want to follow you talking about brand marketing, Morty, where can they find you and Unify Brand Marketing? Where can they follow you across the chaos that is the web of the internet?
Don't go to Threads. I'm on there. That place is deader than my grandmother.
I think you're the first person to mention Threads. There you go.
Yeah, sorry. Don't go to TikTok. I am not there. I'm a balding, middle-aged white person. I'm not for TikTok. I know it. I know my place in this world. Instagram is like, whatever, like repost the same stuff I'm posting everywhere else just because, like, why not? Facebook also, meh. LinkedIn, although I've gone like off the chain on my recent LinkedIn posts, like strategy. I just like posting whatever I want now.
That's
but
your brand,
it's good stuff.
It's establishing a new brand, yeah.
Yeah. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on X. Does it make sense to really follow me on both? It's kind of like just pick one. I know that's not good for my like follower count, but just pick one. Why I see the same thing twice. And you can find me at unifybrandmarketing.com.
There we go. Links for everything, folks, will be in the show notes if you want to go and follow Morty's rants. There we go. Exactly. Like I said, links will be in the video description down below. Go and follow Morty. Go and check out Unify Brand Marketing if you want to chat more brand and basically make sure you're more aligned in doing better things with your brand in 2025. Morty is the person to follow. So go and check him out. Thank you for joining me, Morty. It's been a pleasure.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
And that wraps up this week's episode of the Search With Candour podcast. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Wherever you're watching or listening, thank you to Morty for joining me on this week's episode. I thought it was a really fun, funny, silly, and also important and engaging conversation about the state of brands. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I've got some fantastic guests coming up over the next few weeks, including two of maybe the most requested guests in the history of the podcast in the at least 2.5 years that I've been doing this. I'm finally joined by Tori Gray and Sam Torres from the Grey Dot Company, and we're going to talk about website migrations and JavaScript. Sam and Tori are absolute geniuses, and I can't wait to get into that conversation with you next week. That's right, next week, Sam and Tori are joining me here on the show, and it's also Sam's birthday, by the way. So just a heads up that you'll want to go and say happy birthday to Sam when this episode comes out next week. So next week's episode on the 10th of March, Sam and Tori from the Grey Dot Company joining me. Of course, I'll have some more amazing conversations later on as well. I've got Kasper Zamansky joining me in a couple of weeks, talking all about, am I allowed to say? Maybe I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it as a little tease. Of course, I'll be once again joined by Mark Williams-Cook in a few weeks' time as well, once a month. And I've got some amazing conversations with people like Irina Papuk and Grace Frolick coming up in the next few weeks as well, covering everything from the future of search and where we think a lot of the AIs and LLMs are going. That's my conversation with Irina Papuk coming up in a few weeks. And we're talking all about user journeys, why you should pay attention to them, how you can map them, and how they can be really useful for your strategies going forward with Grace Frolick in a few weeks as well. So stay tuned for that throughout March and heading into April, where of course we'll be doing the live podcast in person in Brighton on Wednesday, the 9th of April, with my co-hosts Sarah and Tasmin from the SEO Mindset podcast. We'll be doing, like I said, an in-person live episode that will also go out on this feed. So if you're unable to attend in person, you can watch it on YouTube, you can listen to it on Spotify and Apple and all that good stuff as well. And it'll be cross-posted on the SEO Mindset feed as well. So you can go and check that out in full and stay tuned for that in a few weeks as well. In the meantime, like I said, thank you so much for watching or listening, and I will see you next week. Have a lovely week.